Welcome back. We continue our series in Configuration in Student Manager with part 2 of setting up applications. So for anyone who's new to the video, if this is your starting point, please look out for our other ones. We started at step 1 in this video series. So we've done step 1, step 2, step 3. We had part 1 and now we're doing part 2. So there's a lot that we covered in those other videos. I'd suggest that you look those up and then join us in sequence where we are now. So introductions aside, let's get started on setting up an application wizard. So you're coming to qualifications. You then will select configure for your given learning program. We then go to application setup where we were before, and now we're going to look at the wizards. So in the previous video we showed you how to add a new wizard. So this is the new one that we added, and I gave an overview of some of the features on it. For example, you can edit the settings and you can change the header. So the header would be some kind of information that would give the learner direction for that particular page. Let me just do that for you now so that you are aware of what is possible here. So we could say, please note that name, first name, last name, and email are required in order to with the application. Okay. This is just something that we've done. So there are different options here when it comes to emails, and what we've done is we've set up some automation just to make things easier for you. So what we have is an option for you to use what we like to call these are special custom fields. I'm just going to copy and paste them in here for you now. And what they are fields which allow some level of automation. So you can have a standard form, and then if you put these in, it will automatically pull that information through for you. So for example, we maybe won't use this. So for our purposes, we're not going to use student number, but we can say now, hi, or good day, first name, last name, thank you for beginning the application process for studies in please find current activation link below, which we can use to as well as maintain your online profile. Okay. And then there'll be a URL there that will allow them to click on it, and then they can choose a password, because the username will be their email address, and this allows them to continue the application at any time. So regards. Okay, so because it's the first step, we're not going to have a review. Terms and conditions, please note that any information collected during this process will be used for data purposes. Okay, so if we wanted to, we can then even change the color, make it a little bold. Okay, different options. So now we save this. So that's our first step attended to. We're not going to have a reviewer, but let's say I want a default person. So the difference between a default notification recipient and notification recipient is, if you're going to have more than one person, then you use notification recipients, because in this way, if you had multiple sites or campuses, you could then allow certain people to get notifications for that particular campus. So with this, you only need one instance of Student Manager, and you can manage all of your campuses as well. Right, but for our purposes, we only want to have one. So I've created this fake user that this person will be notified for any applications. Right, so all that's going to happen is they'll get an email notification to say somebody has gone through that particular step. So that's fine. So when you add a new wizard, you get the second one, which is personal information. You have these different data capture sections. So just for sake of completeness, I'm going to add a few more things under personal details. And for example, I'm going to add identification number. All right. For the contact, personal details will have things like middle name, marital status, title, date of birth, and that will all be in personal. For contact numbers, you're able to choose what will show and what's required. So I'm going to allow those two to show, mobile and contact, but the main one is we want a mobile number. Okay, for address, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to show physical and postal, and I really want their physical address. So that's based on my learning environment. In the previous video, I said you need to know what data normally gets collected on your regular application form or your current online application form, and that's the stuff you're going to duplicate here. So we have all these different types of things that can be added. So these are the sections that we talk about adding to a particular step. So for example, we have the admin fee, we have the deposit, points calculation, which I mentioned previously, goes into entry requirements. Photos, contact numbers. What we call EduDex in the South African context is your sort of demographic data. So it will be race, socioeconomic status, and stuff like that. So that's what we call EduDex. You can have them upload their own photo. Their South African secondary education record, because this is South African context, but if you have a different requirement in your environment, let us know and we'll add that in. So I'm just going to do document upload. So what you're able to do is in the system you can create other types of documents which are required. So I'm just going to say that identity document is required and click save. And the reason for this is I'm pairing it with identification number that they upload an identity document. Right. So now what I'm going to add is just a, I'm going to call it previous education. Okay. And what I want is for them to upload, to add in the South African education record and their school leaving certificate. Alright. So now they're going to come in, capture first name, last name, email address. I'm going to get all this personal information from them. I'm then going to get their previous education. And then I'm going to add another step, and I'm going to call this finance. Right. So before I do any of the other communication stuff, I just want to add the sections that I want to put in here. So what I'd like them to do is add in their upload against the admin fee that we set up previously. They can upload a proof of payment, and against their deposit, they can upload proof of payment. Right. Then what I want is to add a person who will be the account payer. Right. You can do different ones, but for now I'm going to do account payer. And mobile, contact number, physical address, and all of this is required for legal reasons. So I need all of that information for the account payer. So now this is all of my finance stuff. So let me just add a default notification recipient. We're going to make it this applications person, and we're also going to add them as a reviewer. Okay, so now when we come to the flow of things, this is where it's important to have an understanding of the application's flow. And what it is that we must have a look and see, because we have the system that allows us to inform the applicant as to what's going to happen next, that they can actually prepare themselves. So what you can do is, on this previous step with previous education, on completing that step, you can now send them an email telling them what's going to come next so they can prepare themselves. So finance, let's call it financial information. So what I'm going to do here is, good day, before you get to your finance, financial clearance step, we would like to give you the following information so that you can make payment and upload proof of payment on the next Okay, so here we can put account name, put our bank, account name, account number. So this is where you can use a student number for another reason, because you can edit them afterwards. And I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, you could say payment reference. And then use this number that gets generated in the system as a student number. You can now use it as a payment reference. I'll briefly hop across and show you how to configure something quickly for that. But that's just an example. Sorry, account name, account number, account type. Before you get financial guarantee, you make payment for the next step towards studies in that, right? Got okay. So we've done this, and we want a student number of some kind to appear. What I'm going to do is, remember when I added a new wizard, I could set whether we must create a student number or not. So now what I'm going to say is, on completion of personal information, auto-generate a student number. So once they pass this personal information step, so when they get to previous education, the system is going to have a number stored for them. And I'm just going to do a parallel move to settings for student numbers, just so that you're aware of how that happens. So student number settings, you can edit them, and what you can see is that we have configured it so that it's going to use the last 3 digits of their name. It will be 6 characters long. This was just a seed number, so obviously each number is going to be unique. So if there's a payment reference with that number, you can then search for a given student and then know that it's a given applicant, and you know that it's related to that particular applicant because they were given a student code at this stage. Right. So they're not a student, but they have the code. You only become a student when you've successfully completed every step in the wizard. So for previous education, we said, okay, we're going to email them to say what's coming up next is finance stuff. Be aware of this so that you're able to make payment. So now we get to the final step, which is finance. And we know it's going to stop at this stage, because once it passes this stage, because that's why we added a reviewer, once it's finalized, they'll then become a student. But then, if this is going to happen, we need them to know that they're going to stop on this page. So now I'm going to give them an email that says financial clearance. And we're going to say, good day. Thank you for supplying us with proof of payment. Once you have received financial clearance from our notified by email about the way forward for registration. Into this. If all if all financial clearance is satisfied, you will receive a mail within 2 to 3 working days. Okay, because okay. Okay, so what we have in the system is we don't have a negative answer, we only have positive answers. The reason is that this gives the institution an opportunity to contact the applicant if there's a negative answer. We have another feature in the system for sending emails, and they can send them a custom email to let them know why they haven't met certain criteria or what needs to be fixed. What you are able to do is you can cancel an application at any stage and then give a reason to say maybe there's a finance issue or something like that. So you'll have that record. But only once a staff completes the review, then this kind of message will come through. So now we can say, good day, so and so, you have been granted financial clearance. Please join us on registration for on-site registration. I know this is an online learning program, but I'm just using this as an example. Please join us on registration. And so you can say date, time, venue, directions to campus, and please find linked below. So checklist, documents, and so I'm just going to do something here for you. So we can now link a file in here, and we're going to, need to choose a file first. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to do this PDF. Okay, it's there. So now you see it's blue and highlighted. It's just showing that oops. Okay, so now they can download. So this is the mail that they're going to get once the review is successfully completed. So I'm going to click save here. So now we're happy with this particular wizard that we've set up. It fits in with our flow. There's just a few things you need to bear in mind when it comes to the wizards. One is, if you're going to test this, test it against a qualification that isn't one that you currently need. So set up a test qualification and then set up the wizard. The next part is, only once you click set active here, then this wizard will be active. Until then, whichever other one is active will be active. The next part is, if you have a standard thing across all of your learning programs and you want to standardize your wizards, once you've tested and you're happy with it, you're able to select copy, and you can then choose which learning programs you want this to be copied to, and then you can choose the name it's going to have, and you can make the copied one the active one, so it will go across and be active by default, and you just click copy, and then that will get pushed across and be standardized for all of them. So for now, we're just going to set this one as active. Okay, if you scroll up, you'll see that this learning program has been configured, and you can click here to see what your applicants will see. So let's click there and see what they're going to see. So they can see these different programs. Obviously, we haven't set up an intake yet. So for one that is set up, they can see this. They can click more. And then they can get some information and they can start an application. So for now, for ours, we can see this is where you put the prospectus summary, because that's what we typed in previously. And this is where we place the prospectus detail, but there's no open applications. Okay, so we've covered the wizard, and next, in our next video, we're going to deal with the intakes, which will help open this up so that learners have a place to apply into. Thank you for joining us again. I know this video is slightly longer because there's a lot more detail in dealing with an application wizard. So this should probably be the longest video in our series, but it needed all of that background to be able to be executed effectively. So thank you again, and I hope you join us for our next video in the training series.